Hello guys, it's SJ. I hope you're super well. Because it is Monday, it is Baby Name Monday. Thank you so much for still being here. In 2020, I've been doing baby name lists on my channel for a couple of years. It started because I just love baby names, and if you love names as well, it doesn't have to be because you are naming a baby, although so many of you are here because you're new parents to be, and massive congratulations. I've got 3 kids myself and it's going to be the best time of your entire life. But also if you're just interested in like culture and history, if you love writing, it's a real creative little community that's come out of baby names, so it's brilliant. I'm just so chuffed to be here doing a new list for you. I got a bit into the 1920s thing, and it being 2020, so it is January 2020, and I was like, God, that was a decade, wasn't it? Like, wouldn't we all love to go back to like the fashion and the culture of the 1920s? So I have done the most beautiful names from the 1920s. The girls' names have stayed with us for a little bit longer because we like vintage girl names, but I've got some gorgeous boy names on here that I really want to hear what you think of in the comment section below. And then I have a community challenge for you, so if you want to take part in it, I really need your help. I want you guys to create made up new names for 2020. I want 2020 to have its own cool name, so that in 3020 people are like, oh, remember that name from 2020? So I thought we could have fun creating our own names. Maybe there would be like a mashup of 2 really popular names. Maybe it would be just something you totally think of sounds great, or a word that would be used as a name, potentially a boy name that could become a girl name. Have a real creative think and let me know them all in the description box below, or over on my community tab, where I will put this as well. In the community tab, you just hit subscribe and then it will come up and you can join in there, like each other, so I know which ones we really love. And yeah, let's make up some baby names. Everyone keeps asking me to do this, so I know I am chucking that ball over to you guys. But you're so good at it. And if you can't wait till next week for more baby names, you can binge watch all my previous name lists in the description box below. I will leave the full playlist link, and I try not to repeat any, so you'll hear tons of good ones. So first up, this name is only at number 2,445 in the UK at the moment, but it was hugely popular in the 1920s, and I reckon it's due a revival. It is the name Donnie. So Donnie, it's cool, isn't it? Like, Danny is obviously still around a lot, and with like Don from, so now I'm having a real mind blank, Mad Men. The advertising 1920s show Mad Men had Don as the creative director. There's also an uber indie movie Donnie Darko, which I love, with Jake Gyllenhaal, and the name Donnie just hasn't quite come back yet, but it is a super cool one. What do you think of it? Do you think there's a reason why it's not coming back? I just think it's really bang on trend. It's got that nickname thing going for it that we really like for boys at the moment, and the vintage coolness. The name also has great meanings. It means mighty originally, so a very strong name for a boy, and an Irish Don is also like the king of the underworld. So pretty cool, bit bad boy. What do we think of the name Donnie? For girls, so interesting. The number 1 name was the name Mary back in 1920s, and the name Mary was just so humongously popular, and is now like only at number 259, which means it's not getting used that much, and it may be used as a kind of heritage name if you're honouring somebody further back in your family, but it's just massively gone out of style, and it may be because it was so popular. So I found this really crazy stat. So it was so popular, like back in the 20s, there was something like 45,000 girls called Mary in the US alone 1 year, whereas if you put that into modern names, the number 1 name globally is the name Sophia, and that's only been used 21,000 times. So it was just such a humongous name. Basically everyone was called Mary. So now it's kind of gone out of style again, and it's obviously very linked to religion as well, so maybe people are moving away from it a little bit for that reason, but I just think it's a beautiful name. It's often in the middle spot, I think, as well. I think it's become a middle spot, but we should bring it back. There is something about Mary. For boys, how about Wilbur? Wilbur was really popular back in 1920, and I really like it. It was actually on my name list because Wilfred is back with a bang, but Wilbur is still outside of the top 500. It's only at number 584 in the UK, but it is on a rise, so I would get in there fast with Wilbur. It's going to be the new Wilfred, and Wilfs are everywhere now, everywhere. Can't leave my house without seeing a Wilf. So Wilbur is so lovely, and it means dearly loved. So how wonderful is that? Now I have to tell you that I'm not a massive Charlotte's Web know it all. Like, I don't think I even read it at school, and I know everyone in the world did, and Wilbur is the name of the pig in Charlotte's Web. Yeah, so what do you think of the name Wilbur? I just think it is so adorable, and I've always liked the nickname Will, and it's lovely. So you had William, then Wilfred, then maybe Wilbur is the next one. For girls, what do you think of the name Dolores? So Dolores is not in fashion at the moment. It's only at number 2,901, but was in the top 10 in the 1920s, Dolores. So I didn't realise that it is also linked to the name Mary. So it was also like a religious name. So the Spanish name for Virgin Mary is Maria de los Dolores. Oh, sounded quite good, that bit. Which sadly means Mary of Sorrows. So Dolores kind of means sorrow. So maybe the meaning, I think I would find that hard because obviously I'm obsessed with meanings and statistics of names, but I do absolutely love the name Dolores. I think it is so vintage and cool that it could make a comeback, and the L sound is so lovely. We love it. D names are actually rising. Think about Delilah as one of the fastest rising names. Dolores could start to come back into vogue, so I'd get in there quick again. But then there is the Harry Potter thing. Dolores Umbridge, I've got you Harry Potter fans. She was putting a few people off the name as well. So what do you think? Dolores, ready for a revival, or should we leave it in the 20s? Ralph is a hugely popular name from the 1920s, and it is on the rise. So it is at number 88 here in the UK at the moment, the name Ralph. So Rafe and Rafferty have been booming for the last, say, 5 years, and now we're seeing people going, I love that. It's probably been pinched, and we're going back to Ralph, which was a traditional deviation of the name, oh, I'm not going to pronounce it, like Radolfur, which was a Viking name. Come on, us Vikings. My husband's Swedish, not me. And then the Normans simplified it, and then it got simplified into 2 variations, really, Ralph and Rafferty. So I really do love the name Ralph. I know a few Ralphs, a few girls with the name Ralph, and I think it's becoming a kind of quirky, cool, vintage choice. I did read the G.D. Bloom book Forever when I was younger. If you know, you know. Okay, what about the name Gladys for girls? Gladys? I mean, there's Gladys Knight has kept this kind of in our minds, Gladys, but you don't really think, she's always just Gladys Knight, isn't she? She's like an icon, but you sort of forget that you could use that name. It was a hugely popular name in the 1920s that now is totally unranked. So if you are looking for a vintage girl name, it's pretty. I know the G sound isn't our favourite for names, but a lot of people, you know, like that stronger name, and Gladys works. It does have a bit of the old battle axe feel to it, is the problem with Gladys, but then you have to really think about the soft S and the prettiness and the quirkiness of this name. The other meaning of Gladys is apparently means princess with a sword. Like, how cool is that? Especially if you're looking for a character name, princess with a sword, Gladys is your name. So what do you think? Gladys, again, are we ready for this to be revived? For boys, how about the name Clyde? This was a hugely popular name again, which I keep explaining the premise of this video. These are popular names from the 1920s. Right, Clyde. We've all kind of heard it, because I think we've all heard of Bonnie and Clyde, kind of notorious villains from America, couple. We all sort of know that story. But Clyde is a great name by itself. There was a few women called Clyde on a lot of forums that I read, which I thought was interesting. It's originally a Scottish name, and there's the River Clyde that runs through Glasgow. Clyde's name from Bonnie and Clyde was Clyde Champion Barrow. His middle name is Champion. How funny is that? So yeah, what do you think? Would you be able to take away the association of Bonnie and Clyde and see the name Clyde as a vintage classic? Is it too much of a villain's name, or does that make you like it a little bit? We love bad boys, don't pretend we don't. Look at all those Peaky Blinders names that are booming. Clyde could be up there soon. Betty for girls, I know quite a few Bettys. It's really, really back with a bang, and it's got that really kind of almost kitsch vintage quality to it, like a really playful, really charming name that is suddenly adorable when you see it for a baby. You know how some of these names are like, they just seem like an old name and I can't imagine it on a baby? Betty, I really can just think it is so adorable on a little girl. It's obviously a form of Elizabeth, so it's a lovely one. Betty, what do you think of it? Do you know a little Betty, and would it be one you'd pop on your baby name list? Now the next name is the name Arnold. So Arnold, we've all heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, but it's at number 801 and it's really on the rise. But interestingly, the nickname form Arnie is already at number 646, and a lot of you have said to me, I'm considering the name Arnie for a baby, what do you think of it? I've actually had that message quite a lot. So yeah, what do you think? Are you considering the name Arnie? Why do you think it's ready to come back into fashion? Maybe because of the Schwarzenegger thing, maybe like some parents to be like, that's like a really cool memory from their like childhood or the movies and stuff like that. It's got such a strong sound to it. It's a nickname name for boys which we really like Bertie and all Albie and all of those sort of vintage nickname names. Arnold in its full form means eagle power, so it's a cool strong boy name with a cool animal meaning to it. What do we reckon of Arnold? Peggy is here for girls. It's at number 494. It's a diminutive of the name Margaret, and so is Pearl. And now Peggy is becoming used. So Peggy is on the rise, Margot is on the rise, Pearl is on the rise. This whole name is having its little revival. It's probably been, you know, that generation 100-year revamp is going to make the name Peggy, I think, keep going up there. It's at 494, but it's really growing. It actually means little pearl, so it's absolutely adorable. If you had a grandma called Pearl, then Peggy as a little Pearl would be such a lovely way of honouring her, or Margaret. So yeah, I love the name Peggy. I think again it's one of those that's a little bit more rare than Betty still, but if you're looking for something really quirky and you don't want to go with something that's the norm, then Peggy could be a great one for you. Last up for boys, I have the name Sterling. I thought this is an interesting one because it's coming up in a lot of modern lists because it's a surname as first name. That's also colour name, sterling meaning silver. And money names are really on the rise, like cash and sterling, these names that mean money, which is quite funny, isn't it? So it's originally a surname and it meant of the highest quality, so probably quite a aristocratic name maybe back then. It sounds quite public schoolboy to me. Finn had a really lovely little friend called Sterling at nursery, and it was kind of like, oh, I had never heard it before. I quite like it. It's very strong, it's very cool. I think it'll be popular with dads maybe. What do you think of the name Sterling? And for girls, I've left it till the end because it's probably my favourite, and it is the name Dorothy. So fun fact, when I was little I went through about a week when I would only answer to the name Dorothy, obviously after I'd seen The Wizard of Oz. And it was at number 2. It's the second most popular name after Mary in the 1920s, but it's not so in style now. Where is it? It's at number 246, but it has gone up an amazing 100 places in the last 3 years alone. So the Wizard of Oz book came out in the 1900s, and Dorothy obviously got really popular around then. He chose it because it was a very on-trend name. He didn't kind of create it, and his wife was apparently very sad at the death of a niece called Dorothy, which is maybe how he wrote this story or came up with a story about why she'd gone off and was actually living this other life and trying to get home. So it's kind of a sad tale, but a lovely thing to know as well. It's an interesting story about writing and writers and where they find their inspiration. It's just got so many beautiful nicknames like Dot, Dotty. So my niece is Summer Dorothea Rose, probably told her that 20,000 times, but I do love her name, and I love Dot as a little nickname. I love Dotty. I just think it works for your whole life, this name. If you want a name that you can have great nicknames and play around with as they grow up, Dorothy is a great choice. And I still think it's one of those, you know, you've got Halloween costumes sorted, tick, well book day, tick. So I hope you enjoyed those lovely names from the 1920s. Don't forget my community challenge. Please join in. So next week all the names will be brand new, made up names by this community here. I'll do a few of my own, I won't leave you all hanging, but please like each other so I know which ones we really like. And how cool if those names then became actually used. Wouldn't that be insane? So yeah, make up some names, have fun with it, work with your friends, share this with your friends and come up with some. I will be naming my star neighbours. Join in on the community tab or in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit subscribe. I would love to have you here on my channel, and I will see you very soon for more videos and more Baby Name Mondays. Bye bye, love you ones.